Hey there, Mrs. Edstrom here. We are working on inverse operations today. So we're on page 5 in your notebook. Those of you that are working on lined paper or blank paper, that will work too. So go ahead and put the topic at the top. Fill in today's date. I'll move this around. Oh, that's a little more zoomed in than I want. There we go. And we're going to start off with the essential question. So the essential question today is simply, what are inverse operations and how do we use them? So what are inverse operations? And how do we use them? Go ahead and take a moment, write that down. What are inverse operations and how do we use them? Alrighty, let's get started. Inverse operations. The most basic definition of what inverse operations are is they're opposite operations. What that means is that they are operations that undo each other. Operations that undo each other. We can think about them as being opposites. That's another way to look at it. So the reason that we kind of want to think about this undoing part is we're going to start working backwards. So we've learned PEMDAS, we've worked with all our operations, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But now we want to learn how to work that backwards, how to undo those operations. How do we go backwards when we want to undo something? And so that's what we're going to be working on. So operations that undo each other, they're pairs. And our first pair that we have right here is addition and subtraction. Addition and subtraction, they are a pair. They undo each other. If we add something in, the opposite of it would be to take it away. And so that's what we're going to be doing when we have addition. We're going to undo that by taking it away. We can think about this with our fact families. Maybe you remember this from last year. We can have fact families, 5 plus 7 equals 12, 7 plus 5 equals 12. Same numbers, different operation now. 12 minus 7 equals 5, 12 minus 5 equals 7. They're all in one family. They're all the same numbers, but they kind of undo each other at different points. And so what that's going to look like for us this year is if we have that first addition problem, 5 plus 7 is equal to 12, we can work backwards and undo the addition by starting with our 12 and subtracting the 7. Takes us right back to that 5, right? Or if we had wanted to undo the opposite, right? If we had 12 minus our even minus 5, that could equal 7. And we could work the other way from subtraction over to addition and say, well, then let's take that 7 and do the opposite and add 5 to get 12, right? It's the same numbers. It feels like we're just doing something and then undoing it, which is exactly what we're doing. But here soon we're going to have variables, so we're not going to be able to do the first addition. We're going to have to just do the undoing part. And we're going to take a look at what that means later on. So start to just think about addition and subtraction. They're our first big pair here. Our second big pair is multiplication and division. Multiplication and division. These are inverse operations. They undo each other. So just like with our fact families, right? We can have fact families with multiplication and division. We're going to start to see lots of division written as a fraction. So this right here is 15 divided by 3. 15 divided by 5. I really want you to get used to seeing that fraction and identifying it as division. So let's take a look at this again. So that same fact family, if I have 5 times 3 is equal to 15, remember we're using the dot instead of the x, I can undo that by taking the 15 and dividing it by 3 to get the 5. Right? Or I can do the opposite. If I have 15 divided by 5 equals 3, same numbers, I can work backwards by taking that 3 and multiplying it by the 5 to get the 15. Notice we're not really ever multiplying the 3 times the 15 or the 5 times the 15. We're multiplying by our denominator to undo the division. And we're dividing this single number by one of our other 2 factors over here. That's really important to be thinking about. So really, all we're working on here is working backwards. If you have multiplication, you undo it with division. If you have division, you undo it with multiplication. They work back and forth from each other.